Yeah,
Yeah, Collingwood's fast becoming premiership favourites again, I think.
they're finding some form. It's scary. Simply, is Bevo pretty much done at this point? I think it's hard to justify. Welcome back to Wooden Spoon Data, the 18th best AFL commentary channel on YouTube. Always in last place. But how you doing, Kris? How's the week now that we've seen a Bombers win?
Yeah, good man. Just got over the line. West
Yeah,
Coast nearly got us. It was close.
yeah, they've been good. No, likewise, it's been good. St Kilda finally got a win again, so there's a smile on my face. But yeah, let's get into this week's matches, mate. We had the showdown first with Crom getting it done by 30 points for Sloane's farewell. What you think, mate?
Yeah, it was good to see him get a win. I did tip them, but I think I give it more down to Port's injuries than any true form from Adelaide. I don't know where they're really at.
Yeah, I mean, they had a few go down. Georgiades, Jones, and Rosie got injured again and has come under some scrutiny, which Ken has taken the blame, but there's a fair few people involved in that. Um, yeah, I suppose. Do you reckon Ken is in trouble?
I don't think he's in trouble, man. These things happen. It's just owning the situation more than owning any actual true blame.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, I think there's more people in charge. There's medicos that tick it off, so yeah, it's not just him. But yeah, we saw a new showdown medalist in Saligo, mate, with 28 disposals at 85% disposal efficiency, 10 tackles, 4 intercept possessions, and 4 score involvements. What did you think? Was he a deserving winner?
Yeah, he was clearly best in ground. I thought Mark Keane was really good in the defence, but yeah, I thought Saligo was clearly the best player.
Yeah, I tend to agree. He was just everywhere. He did really well, and he's been one that I've been kind of saying they should put in their midfield for a few weeks now, and that's why. He's a good player. Adelaide scored a 7 goals from inside 30, where Port only scored 1 goal, 3. In fact, Port only scored 2:14 after quarter time. They are the worst converting team in the league. What do you think that comes down to?
I really don't know. Like, they seem to have a lot of talent in the forward line. You've got like Marshall down there whose accuracy's never been questioned. Georgiades always looked like a good kick. It's really hard to see where it's coming from. But
Yeah,
it has been a thing for a few years now, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, I tend to agree. I'm just double checking the goals there, but I feel like Dixon's down a little bit this year. Had a few rest matches from what I remember. He scored one, and Marshall's had a few matches not only this year but mostly in years past where he's been injured and in and out of the side. So I think there's a lack of consistency there, but yeah, I couldn't 100% put my finger on it. They all seem like reasonably good players. Willie Rioli, on Francis when he sits there, he got 2. So um, yeah, I don't know what it is. So yeah, might be one to look over as we get closer to the mid-season break. Look, any thoughts before we move on to the next match, mate?
Just yeah, they're both just need to keep winning. I think they're both right in the hunt for finals. I think Adelaide. I'm not sure if Adelaide's in the hunt. They got to start winning a lot of games if they want to get back into the.
Well, they've started, but yeah, I tend to agree. Port are going to struggle with their injuries over the next few weeks, and you wonder how that affects their finals campaign. And Adelaide just need to start winning. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a
important.
good time for Port to have Geelong in Geelong coming up. It's a tough
Yeah,
match.
no, I don't think they're going to win that one. But yeah, looking at the next games matchup, we had Carlton versus Collingwood. A very close match, came down to some Nick Dacos brilliance. He got 2 goals, 32 disposals at 78%, 7 tackles, 7 clearances, and 5 score involvements. Yeah, amazing match. What did you think?
Yeah, it was a good performance, good game all around.
Yeah,
Yeah, Collingwood's fast becoming premiership favourites again. I think.
they're finding some form. It's scary.
Yeah,
Um,
they need to go back in form. If they find
yeah,
that, I reckon they'd have to be like right up there.
definitely. They did get some good work out of Sullivan, who came on midway through the second for McCreary. He was the 315th VFL AFL player to kick a goal with his first kick. And he managed a game high 8 score involvements from 43% time on ground, making him the fourth best ratio in that stat ever. So yeah, I think they might have found one there in the, I believe it's dual Liston Trophy winner. So yeah, he's a good one. It makes you kind of wonder with certain players around that sort of that get picked up late and drafted late. Why are they? Why are we getting kids that are really speculative when we've got VFL performers like that are sitting there every year?
Yeah, it gives the argument to like the 19 team. Will there be enough players around? It certainly seems that way. Like as an Essendon supporter, Sammy Durham's come on crazy good from a mid-season
I mean,
draft just a year and a half ago.
that's it. I mean, we got Cooper Sharman out of it. It's in Kilda. You got Wilkie as a mature age pickup. Sinclair came as from the rookie draft, along with Marshall as well as a mature age. So I think there is a bit to be found. And yeah, I mean Geelong have been doing it for a while. They started with Podsy, and they've picked up a few with what Stewart started late. So yeah, I think there's people to be found there, and I don't think the AFL really explores that sort of avenue of recruiting well. And yeah, we saw it. We saw it with Sullivan. He did really well. Um, yeah, I suppose we see De Goey come back. I think we see a stronger uh, Collingwood, and they get closer to being that premiership favourite again. Carlton were an interesting one. Um, yeah, we had Williams subbed out with a glute concern. He seems likely to miss next week. Yeah, Carlton only 3 goals in the final quarter and 26% time in forward half. What do you think? What do you think went wrong?
I think it comes down to spread of goal kicking. Like Collingwood had 11 separate goal kickers to Carlton's five, sorry, and the
Yep.
Carlton five was the like probably the main five you'd expect to be kicking goals. So they weren't getting enough from the midfield, the half backs. Like Akers is normally good for a goal, but none of them chipped in this week, and sort of
Yeah.
yeah, that might have been the difference.
Yeah. I think you kind of. It's one thing I've always debated. I'm not sure I really trust the small forwards um, of Carlton. I feel like they might have one that goes off every week, but considering they go into each week with three, it's kind of what it's kind of not quite enough. Yeah,
And
what are
when you
your
got
thoughts?
Kerno and Mackay sitting there, sort of like the tall targets, bringing it the ball to the ground all the time, you sort of need the small forwards. Like, are they doing enough? Like, I always kicked three this week, but
Yeah,
like
he did
like you
really
said,
well.
someone always pops up.
Yeah, someone's bound to. They're not terrible, but I just don't know if you get enough out of them each week. Um, yeah, I suppose. Look, any sort of concerns for Carlton out of this match, other than Williams, maybe?
Yeah, I think they're still going right. It's like a 6 point loss to the reigning premiership premier. It's not the worst in the world.
Mm.
I
Especially
did
when they're
think
first in form.
Pendlebury's kick, like the last play, the last centre clearance, definitely it definitely should have been called out deliberate.
Yeah. Um, but that's what you get when you're near 400 gamer. I'm not sure who asked it now.
But I don't know
And
if they would have won anyway. It's still got to take the ball down the other end of the ground, and Collingwood's the best at stopping it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But yeah, great match. And yeah, we'll move on to the next one. We did have the Sydney Swans versus the GWS Giants in the Battle of the Bridge. I'm not sure why they battle over the bridge. I believe that they're on the same side of the river, from memory. But whatever. But yeah, look, GWS lost Green early. He does seem okay. They managed to win the first quarter, but from there they only kicked 2 points in the second quarter. The third was the most contested disposal quarter of any quarter this year, in 90 of them. And then, yeah, Sydney went on to win pretty comfortably. Um, yeah, what were your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, like I just wet with the footy. It wasn't wet the whole game, but when it got wet, Sydney just sort of got going, got contested, and took control of the game. I thought, and then blew it out. Seemed like GWS just couldn't keep up with them for the 4 quarters, and the Swans were there to make them pay, make them earn it.
Yeah, yeah. It seemed like they were on top in every regard. Will Hayward absolutely starred with 4 goals, 16 disposals at 81% in quite wet weather. He got 5 marks, 7 tackles, and 7 score involvements. Um, yeah, I mean, Errol Golden won the medal. Do you think Hayward was a bit stiff?
Definitely. I didn't see Errol winning it personally at the end of the match. He played decently, but I thought there was 3 or 4 probably ahead of him.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of thought that it might go to Hayward, so I didn't expect Golden either. But yeah, it was a good match, despite the weather, and yeah, it was good to see Sydney get up after the kind of media that was going on from GWS earlier in the week. They were giving them a shellacking, so they needed to stand up on the field too, and yeah, Sydney got it. But um, yeah, otherwise, mate, speaking of media, I think it's time we go into our media watch.
The media, Kris?
Yeah, this week's media watch, mate, I wanted to discuss the AFL's moment of silence for domestic violence. Obviously a good display, but I do feel like it was a little bit lip servicey when Taron Thomas is out of the game currently on, I believe, an 18-game suspension, and he needs to complete a behavioural program, which I believe he's probably gone through them at the Roos before. I don't feel like that's a really strong punishment, to be honest. Yeah, that's where I feel like it's a bit lip servicey. Um, and then it kind of comes to another sort of thing in the media. People have been on the Roos a bit about their culture, and while it's you can make that argument because they haven't been great for a while. Um, with somebody like Taron Thomas, they tried to help him a few times, and when they couldn't and just believed they couldn't help him anymore, they cut him because they thought he wouldn't be good for their team and their culture. So for me, if the AFL was to let him back, playing after what he's done, and then from there, another team picks him up, I'd think realistically, I'd question that other team's culture more than the Kangaroos. So yeah, for me, just feels a bit odd with kind of the messaging that they've given out this week, the AFL. And yeah, I think Taron Thomas probably shouldn't really be welcomed back in by the AFL, and I don't know if you can really blame the Bruce culture when other clubs are potentially looking at him. So that's my thought. But yeah, look, to lighten it up a little bit, mate, because it's a bit of a heavy topic. I think it's time we go into who's that footballer and get back to some footballer. Enjoy.
Who's that
footballer?
It's
Chad Wingard.
Working for him, he goes longer. Wingard! Oh, baby!
And that was who's that footballer. Yeah, so look, getting back into, I suppose, the football world of things and matches, we're up to the next one. We've got my team, mate, St Kilda versus North. I was pretty happy with this one in most regards. It was a 38-point win over North. Sinclair was back in form with 2 goals, 33 disposals, 60% efficiency. So it could have been better there. He did get 9 goals, 7 tackles, 8 clearances, and 8 score involvements. So definitely was more active in the midfield. What did you think? Did you get a chance to watch the game?
Yeah, it was a good little game. I thought the Kangaroos put up a bit of a fight there in the third. But yeah, impressive win for the Saints. Just kept them at bay, and I thought Darcy Wilson, best game. His
Yeah,
confidence has been growing by the week.
he looks like one of the better pickups we've had in a while. And considering we've kind of been nailing some picks recently, that says something. He got 3 goals, 21 disposals at 76%, 8 marks, 6 score involvements, and 4 intercept possessions. Yeah, really good game from him. If you look to the sheet we get from Andrew Whelan and Wheelo, it was really the second quarter where St Kilda won it, 76% in forward half. North only kicked the 1 goal there, so it kind of fell apart there from about halfway through the second quarter to the end of the second or halfway through the first quarter to the end of the second for North. So yeah, there was a fair resurgence from them in the second half, and they kept it fairly even and respectable. So yeah, good effort by them, but kind of what you'd expect to see from St Kilda. With 4 matches remaining for the Hawks rather for North against bottom 4 sides this year, can we really expect more than 2 wins from them this season? They've got West Coast in round 13, so you'd think West Coast still has a bit of life in them. Then again in round 22, the Hawks in round 24 and Richmond in round 21. Do you think they can get more than 2 wins in this season?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Can you see good Goodnay win? Like, who do they beat?
I mean, I said it last week, but we say it all the time, and it just doesn't seem realistic, right? That you go a full season without a win. So I feel like they've got to beat one of them. Their best chance is either round 13 against West Coast or one of those last 4 games where they've got 3 of the bottom 4. So they either get to the very end of the season and they start pinching 1 or 2, or they get one at West Coast, but I can't see them getting any others. So
And West Coast is looking pretty good. Like, I don't know if
yeah,
they beat them.
no, neither. And I'm pretty sure it's in West Coast from round 13. I'd have to double check, but yeah, I'm worried for them. They look better in some regards. Like certain players are starting to look good for their kids and positional swaps for Combin and things like that, but they don't
The
look good.
coach looked good.
Yeah, he
Played a
did.
good game.
He did. Um, yeah, look, I think it's a tough one. They're gonna struggle, and I
Excuse me.
I think no, you're all right. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one for them going forward for the season, and I think we have to start considering a priority, just with their history, and I understand what they've done with picks in the past, but they got to get out of this hole quicker. And yeah, I don't know if that
I
means we've
don't
got to.
know. I don't know if that's fair at this point. Like, when Mackay left, they got a priority pick and they didn't use it to fix the hole. Like,
Yeah, but
the
that's
reason they're losing now is
Mackay's
because
not
their
a
defense
priority
was their
pick.
own choice. But I'm
Mackay's not a
saying, like,
priority.
their defense needed fixing after that.
Yeah, but you can't just pick somebody up sometimes, and it's not easy to recruit when you're the worst team in like the last 5 years. So I
Yeah,
get where it is, but there needs to be some sort of look at what we do with them towards the end of the year. Um, Moving on to the next game, we had Melbourne versus Cats. I was jumping between this match and Eagles Bombers a fair bit. I think you probably would have been doing a little bit of the same, but probably sticking on the Bombers more. Yeah, look, for me, there was a few moments that really kind of defined the game, and it comes down to Jeremy Cameron in the last, just missing shots. Hawkins being goalless for quite some weeks now. Um, yeah, you just wonder where it kind of went for the Cats.
yeah. Well, I didn't really watch much of it at all, to be honest. I caught the French match winner just in time, but yeah, mostly watching the Essendon game.
Yeah, I was fairly similar. Once I realised it was quite close in the Eagles Bombers game, and I'm just enjoying Eagles getting good again. So it's become one of my go-tos. But yeah, look, it was the second, well, it was the first scoreless quarter since round 22 in the second quarter. Um, and geez, that was not right. It was the first scoreless quarter in the second quarter since 2022 in round 13 between Carlton and Essendon. Geez, that was hard to bloody say. Yeah, so it was a tight tussle there, and that's kind of where I started looking at the Eagles Bombers a bit more. So yeah, I came back towards the very end as well and saw that last couple of 5 or so minutes. Um, yeah, it was a good game from what I saw. Oliver looks to be back. Could be a sneaky pickup in the fantasy worlds. Um, yeah, otherwise, mate. Yeah, interesting game. We'll move on and go to your team who just held off a resurgent Eagles. What were your main takeaways, mate?
Yeah, it was a much needed win, but it would have been upset if we lost it. But the Eagles did look really good. Like they were coming hard at the end there, even without Yo, who unfortunately done his another injury. I think it was a groin.
Yeah, I think it's a groin. So he's gone for a little bit. Um, yeah, and it's really bad timing because I think he was on a podcast that got released a couple of hours beforehand where he was talking about how good his groin felt. So yeah, it's unfortunate for him. He just can't catch a break. But yeah, look, they looked good. They're looking better all the time. I don't think they have a case for a priority pick anymore.
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
No. Um, so yeah, it was a good game, mate. We had Goldstein crack the 10,000 hit out mark, a first in that record, in that stat. We've got Goldstein in first. We've got Sandilands in second, and Gawn in third. So yeah, quite the illustrious group there. And yeah, he's sitting on top, which I don't know if I would have known, like, kind of thought that 5 years or so ago. He kind of plodded along his whole career just being pretty good to high level. So yeah,
Y-
good career
Look,
from him.
looking at the stats, I thought it was a bit strange too. Like he's played the same amount of years as Sandilands, and I thought like Sandilands would have had a better hit out rate.
Yeah, same.
Like clearly he's just been dominant in that part of the game. Very smart footballer.
Yes, yeah, 100%. Now I think it's time to go on to sharing shenanigans, mate.
Have a look at this. Great shot of something not so good. Bang!
And yeah, in this week's sharing shenanigans, we've got Watson, which is unfortunately for him the first person to be in Sharon Shenanigans twice.
Second
He,
time lucky.
yeah, he did the same thing, I'm pretty sure as well. He's walked into an open goal and walked into the behinds and kicked it behind. It's
And I think the
just,
worst part is Sicily was going to kick it himself and decided to give it off to the young kid in the goal square.
if
He
they'd
wasn't happy.
lost,
He wasn't happy.
no, he was cracking it, and rightfully so. If they lost down to that moment, like you could have literally called it down to that moment. Um, But yeah, he's lucky to get away with it, to be honest. Um, yeah, mate, I think it's now that we've gone through the shenanigans, let's look at an unsung hero of the week.
The first to pitch in are those unsung heroes.
Do you want to go first, mate?
Yeah, I put down James Brobottom from Sydney. I thought
Yep.
also another contender for the medal. I probably would have had him ahead of Gordon as well. But yeah, 2 goals, plenty of touches. Probably should have had 3 goals too because he got a hold in the ball decision or something, and I think
Yep.
it was Papley took the
Took it.
advantage on him.
Yep. Yeah, as Pappas does, and probably should in a lot of regards. It's what he's paid to
If
do.
you if you're looking at
Um,
21 disposals and 3 goals though, that's a pretty good
it's a,
performance. If you
yeah, I mean, that's a
21
Darcy
and 2, let's go.
Wilson-esque performance. Yeah, so no, he did quite well. But yeah, for me, I've got a bit of a lead in on somebody I said last week that I've never said was good, and others have said he was good in the past, and I just didn't believe him. But I've seen it now. Josh Tracy. I don't even know how to say his name right. I've never bothered to learn. He's looks good. He looks real good. Um, yeah, did you see him?
Yeah, he's found a pair of hands out of nowhere.
Yep, and he's kicking fairly straight too. So yeah, you wonder where it came from, to be honest. Um, yeah, look, to be honest, I don't want to pot him, but I've been not one of the singers of his skills, and yeah, he's proved me wrong, I reckon. Moving on, we'll go into his match against Richmond, in which Fremantle did win. Richmond looked somewhat competitive until the fourth quarter. They did only kick 1 goal 7 from inside 40. If you look at the stats there on the side from Wheelo Ratings and Andrew Whelan, yeah, they kicked 1-7 and Freo kicked 10-3. Things aren't going to get better this season for Richmond or the near future, I don't think. Um, what position do you think they need to invest in or pick up from somewhere immediately?
I think I think going to the draft is what they need to do. I don't think there is any short-term fix. I think they got to
Yeah,
get some games into young kids and get some young kids that are probably better than the kids they have at the moment.
yeah, yeah, fair.
It's going to be tough.
Um,
It's going to be a rebuild. I think it's going to be
proper rebuild, I reckon. Yeah.
proper
Um,
rebuild.
they're tough. St Kilda's done them quite a bit, and I've lived through them. But yeah, moving on to Freo, we won't dwell on the bad things too much. Tracy kicked 3 goals in that last quarter. For me, I don't know still about them though. Are they a real finals possibility or not?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've probably got the best defense in the game. Like it was a huge game from Luke Ryan. Luke Ryan and Alex Pearce together. It's like they're up there with Lever and May, really.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Pierce has been amazing. I've actually quite liked Draper. He hasn't done a ton, but he does what he needs to quite well. So yeah, plays smaller than his height too, so he can play quite tall or small. So I like him. Um, look, other than that, mate, I think it's time to move on to what I think is probably one of the more interesting ones of the week in the Dogs Hawks. I think everybody'd kind of call this one an upset. I don't think many people would have picked the Hawks. Um, look, simply is Bevo pretty much done at this point. I think it's hard to justify these sort of matches.
Yeah, it's getting harder to mount a case for him. Like it seems like the Dogs don't want to play for him, and they just keep losing. So uh,
People
yeah,
have they've been apologising to Sammy Draper. So
could this
yeah.
week be the week? I don't know. If they lose to Tigers next week, like does he? Yeah, when do you make the call?
Well, I was going to say if they do lose to the Tigers next week, I can see them losing 4 out of their 5 games after that, putting them at 4-10 at the round 15 break. Does does Bevo survive? I don't think he can survive that. If you're at that point, they're not making finals, and I mean, league management and Bevo's kind of words have been out of alignment for a while. I think it's I think he gets chopped. I don't think he makes a pass this year. I think if they lose next week, you can almost guarantee that he's gone. So
Yeah,
they need to pull the finger out. It's do or die for Bevo, and we'll see if the players really play for him. In my opinion, but yeah. Moving on to Hawthorn, some better stories again. Don't want to dwell too much on the negatives. Uh, yeah, I quite liked Kalsha Deer. Sorry, Kalsha Deer. I'm trying to remember how to say his name. I know there's an L in there. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Cow
he
shit.
looks good. Yeah, Kalsha. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get corrected if there's any Hawthorn fans watching, but um, he looked good. He looks like the forward they've been wanting in terms of a tall for a little while. Yeah, they look like they've got nearly the structure there. They're missing a bit in defence. I don't think Frost is really going to take them too far, but I mean, what do they need at this point? Apart from, say, experience, when do we start seeing Hawthorn get better?
Yeah, like they've had some reinforcements come back, and it's definitely made them look a little bit more like up for the fight. But yeah, I think they just need games. I think it's just time.
Yeah, Yeah,
I
okay,
thought Sicily getting swung forward was an inspired move, and he looked really good.
definitely. When they had the defense just working, it's like, well, why do we need him here? Like, we might as well put him in the spot. It's not working, and yeah, Sammy Mitchell looks like a smart coach, and if he doesn't make the journey, I'd want him on my team. That's for sure. Um, but yeah, mate, it was a good match from Hawthorn. I think it's time to move on to the Banana Cup, or the Q Clash, as I think they call it more officially. Um, yeah, Brisbane lost a lot of players. Like, Starcevic went down before the match to a calf. McCarthy did his knee 5 minutes in. Ainsworth did a concussion. He got hit in the back of the head. He got a concussion about 20 minutes later, so 5 minutes left in the first quarter. And then Gardner's knee was done 5 minutes into the second quarter. So they were sitting there with two on the bench for the rest of the game. One of their players on the bench was a sub that had already played a match in the VFL. So they were up, I think, 34 points when it all went down, and in getting the last knee from Gardner, and then they ended up winning by 34 as well. So they did a pretty good job, in my opinion. What's your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, it was a huge effort from Brisbane. I thought Neil, Zorko, Dunkley, McCluggage, they were all massive in the middle.
Yep. Yeah,
It's yeah,
definitely. Zorko was at an interesting stat. He got 35 kicks, which is one short of being the equal most this century. So yeah,
crazy.
quite good. But yeah, it was a good game from them. They did only kick 2 goals 11 in the second half, which kind of makes you come back to the Suns, right? Like, I mean, Hardwick's got to be pulling his hair out. He's going to need to go and either have some gummies, or however he decides to do that. But yeah, it's I don't know, where do they turn it around, mate? Because we've talked about their scoring problems. Is it just that? Because I think there's more.
Uh, I think today was just a very disappointing performance overall. It was a real opportunity for them to sort of show they made some inroads, and they looked a fair bit off, especially with Brisbane being so injury rattled. Then they've been falling away in the second halves most games, and with no people on the bench, you'd expect it to happen worse. You should be able to take advantage of it. I
Yeah,
mean, not that you want to see them take advantage of it, but you've got to.
yeah, bang on. And to kind of end it with, basically not getting anything out of the remaining, you know, half and a bit of footy where you've got an extra two players on the bench. It's just it's not good enough. There's things wrong. I think we saw a little bit of issues with, again, the bottom six at the Suns, and them just not quite being up to standard. I do wonder with Lukosius as well. They've kind of started settling him forward a bit more, but he just wasn't really hitting it well tonight. And I wonder if it might have been best to put him back in the field and kind of let him marshal the troops forward a bit more, drive it a bit deeper into the forward line. So I don't know. I think there's work to be done on the Suns, and the Lions. Look, it's hard to say what happens going forward. They copped a fair few injuries there, and yeah, we'll see if it really affects them. But yeah, mate, unless you've got any further thoughts, we're getting towards the rolling all Australian.
You're Australian. Be Australian.
So for this week's rolling all Australian, we do have a, I guess it's a sort of change to the back line, but you're not going to see it there. It's the defender on the bench, so we'll come to them later. We'll move to essentially the forward line. The midfield does stay the same if you want to have a quick look. And yeah, in the forward line, we have got Bolton out for Isaac Rankin. Rankin's just been kind of really good these last few weeks, and been on one of the reasons Adelaide's turned it around. Do you think it's a fair assessment, Chris?
Yeah, Rankin's form recently has been very good. Like not so much his goal kicking, but more like he's been playing up the field, getting a bit of midfield time, but like still coming down and chipping in with his couple of goals a game. What do you get this week? 3, I think.
Yeah, 3. And
Yeah.
he's doing well in the goal kicking. I think he's what, 14 from memory? I'll have
I
to
saw he
double
was
check.
leading Adelaide's goal kicking, which is
Yeah, he is. I'm just checking now. He's at 16, so he is 13th in the comp for goal kicking. Um, yeah, so I mean, he's done quite well. He's got more goals than Bolton, so I think it's a fair swap. Moving to the bench, we have 2 swaps. In terms of the defensive swap, in Vlosten, we're swapping him out for Luke Ryan. Um, Luke Ryan had a great game this week, and he had a great season so far. I think it's a fair swap. What do you think?
yeah. He's forced his way into the team, especially after his game of the weekend. And even before that, he's been probably very consistently up there.
Yeah.
It's getting tough for spots.
It is. And speaking of competitions being tough for spots, we've got 2 Melbourne players swapping there. Petrarca is moving out for Fritsch. And I think Fritsch has just been one of the major reasons Melbourne's been getting over the line this sort of whole season in a lot of regards when their forward woes were quite evident. And yeah, Petrarca's just been struggling with Oliver not kind of being there as much these last few weeks, and with Oliver going bang, Petrarca just didn't quite go with him. So I think that's a kind of fair swap for now. That those sort of interchange spots are a little bit interchangeable. Look, we'll go into the next week's predictions, mate. In tips, we've got Carlton versus Melbourne to start us off next week. Who do you think wins that?
I've gone to Carlton. I think they'll bounce back from the game on the weekend. I think, yeah, Melbourne probably spent a few tickets to get over Geelong, and it should
Mm.
be a close game, though.
Yeah, I tend to think Carlton will be ready to go after the loss. I think they were pretty upset with themselves there, and then yeah, we'll see a big fire from then. Moving on to the next one, we've got the Cats versus Port. I think we see a pretty big Cats win in at the Cattery. What do you think?
You have to agree. Geelong, surely. I think Port's injuries have taken a toll.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the week we might see Stava Radigalia get shown why Hawkins is an all-time great. Um, Other than that, we're moving on to Freo Sydney in Fremantle. I've gone Sydney getting the job done way. What do you think?
I've also gone Sydney. I think, yeah, they're a
Yep.
very good side, but I wouldn't be surprised if Freo won either. I think the defence is very, very good.
Yeah, I can see it kind of going either way. It's a hard one for me. I'm just not sure Freo has enough firepower, but we'll see. We've got Hawks versus St Kilda. I've gone the Saints. It would normally for me be a danger game for the Saints, but considering the Hawks got over the Bulldogs, I think, like you said earlier, they might have spent some tickets, and yeah, St Kilda might have a little bit of an easier run. What are your thoughts?
I've also gone the Saints. I think, yeah, probably Hawthorn. I don't think they're going to win too many more games.
Yeah, I think it could be a bit tough. This one, I'm not sure we go the same here. I think the Giants are going to be a bit annoyed with their loss, and I think they're going to come out and play pretty well, and therefore get the win over the Bombers. What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I've tipped the Bombers, but I'm not confident hugely. Maybe no Tom Green could be good for us. Zach Merritt's been in some
Could
really
be.
good form. Parrish is finding
Yeah,
form. We could take control of the midfield.
Parrish played quite well this week, actually. One we didn't mention earlier, so yeah, at least I didn't. But yeah, he's been he's been finding some form recently. Merritt's been great all year. Not one I normally expect to be this good this early. And yeah, who knows, mate? Who knows? Moving on to the next one, we've got Richmond versus the Dogs. I don't think the Dogs lose against 2 bottom 4 sides back to back, but
Yeah, I've tipped the
it's
Dogs as
ever.
well, but it doesn't look good.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't trust it.
scary,
I don't
scary.
trust it at all. Um, yeah, Dogs. Moving on to Suns versus North. I feel like the Suns are at home are just going to be unacceptably, kind of unhappy with their result here in the Q Clash, and I think they get the win pretty easily.
Yeah, you'd hope so. I think if North knock them off, that'd be pretty upsetting.
You're surprised that it's not one I've been talking about potential wins for. So yeah, I assume the Suns get it done. They'd want to. Otherwise, there's going to be some questions on them. Looking at the Pies versus West Coast, mate, I think this might be closer than people think, but I am going the Pies. What are your thoughts?
I'm a bit worried about Elliot Yeo missing. I reckon definitely the Pies will storm
Yeah,
home.
yeah. Did Waterman get an injury as well? Was that?
Concussion, he'll miss this week.
Yeah, so yeah, it might be a bit easier than in previous weeks, but I mean, we've been seeing a better Eagles side, so who knows? Yeah, going on to our final match, mate, Crows versus Lions. I've got the Crom getting it done again. What are your thoughts, mate?
I've tipped the Crows too. I didn't think the Lions were too convincing today. I thought, injuries didn't help, but I thought it was
Yeah,
more West Gold Coast not playing well than the Lions really.
yeah. The Lions just weren't shooting well. Their
Yeah,
scoring shots were just awful. So yeah, look, one to keep an eye on there for sure. But yeah, look, that's our week, mate. Your last week for a bit. We're gonna see you back in what, 3-ish weeks? I think it is. Is that
yeah,
right?
something like that. Yeah, two weeks
Yeah,
off.
2 weeks off. Nice. Well, look, enjoy WA. I'm hoping for you it's a bit warmer than the Melbourne
Yeah,
at the moment.
get some nice weather.
Yeah, don't have to wear any hoodies anymore, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'll be here holding down the fort for the next couple of weeks. So yeah, if anybody wants to keep watching, if Kris has been the main thing you've been watching for, I've got a few things planned. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But yeah, look, thanks for everybody that watched today. If you liked what you saw, give us a like. If you want to see more, it's generally easiest by clicking that subscribe button, and you'll get notified if you hit the bell. So do that, I suppose. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for your time, Kris, and yeah, everybody, you too, Kris. Enjoy your weeks.
Too easy.
Cheers.